Welcome to another episode of Frames TM. Today I'm going to talk about a strange thing that happened with my Z8. And I was quite bugged, I was quite irritated, and I had to reset and set my camera 3 times already in the last 4 days. And the problem was that I was getting blackout. Okay. I was getting serious blackout on my Z8. When the first time I set the camera and I went out and shot some birds for the first time in my life, to be honest, and with the 100 to 400, I'll do a video on that. I shot for almost 2 hours in a high temperature in India. It's hot and humid, somewhere between 35 to 38 degrees Celsius for 2 hours. I'll talk about that in the next video. But so on that day, I had no problem at all, and that was the first time I had really set the camera up, and it was a rudimentary, quick setup, right? And I went out and shot, in the sense that the autofocus settings were set quite nicely, but the rest of it, I didn't have a lot of time to sort of look into every detail of the camera settings. It was adequate for that day. I came home, downloaded the files, was going through the files, and I was just tinkering with the camera. Okay, I was looking at the settings, and suddenly I started noticing, and I didn't notice at first. I started noticing that I have the blackout, because see, I have I didn't use something like I did use a Z9, but I'm still used to the Z6 too, the Z50, Z30, Z6, all those cameras. So when I saw the blackouts on my EVF, I didn't really I thought it was usual, right? My brain did not register it. But then after a while I realized, well, I have the blackout, what's going on? And I was going crazy. I couldn't figure out a way. I thought maybe the battery was slow. Okay, so I saw that one of the batteries that I had inside the body at that point had 25% battery life. So I took the battery out, changed the battery. I thought it will change, but no, it was still blacking out, if that's an expression. So I was quite worried. I thought there's something wrong with my camera. But then I thought, okay, let me reach out to Nikon and let's see what they have to say. I think you can see the blackout happening, all right? And that was my problem. I don't know if you can see this. This was my problem. I think you can see the blackout happening. This was my problem, okay? I was at 8 frames per second. So for a while, I thought maybe it's a FPS. I changed that. I went up and down. Nothing changed. So I contacted Nikon, and I was like, Nikon said, get into your menu and then look into go into custom shootings menu. I'll just play that. I'll show you the menu system here. Go into custom settings menu and go into D shooting and display, and then come down to D12 and D13, right? Where is D12? Yeah, so D12 and D13. D12 says view all in continuous mode, which means that in non-continuous mode, you're going to see the blackout. In continuous mode, you're not going to see any blackout. So they said switch it on. I switched it. It was already switched on. I switched it off, turned the camera off, and then turned the camera on and switched on view all in continuous mode. Nothing changed. But if you don't have view all in continuous mode turned on, this is what you're going to see. The screen will completely black out. So you have to ensure that you set view all in continuous mode to on. I think it's by default switched on, but check that. Second thing is D13, the release time indicator. They said see whether the release time indicator inside that, the indicator type is set to type B or C, because the type A says the screen goes dark when a picture is taken. Okay, so it's expected. Type B says lines appear at all 4 edges of the screen when a picture is taken. So you'll see a little bit of flickering on the right and left and top and down, and you'll see something happening at the sides when you set it to type B, but you'll not see blackout. Type C is just lines appear at left and right edges of the screen when a picture is taken. All right, so mine was set to type B. I think it was again default. I said yes, it's set to the right sort of stuff. So it's type B and release time indicator is set correctly. Then they said go down again and look at whether auto restore delay is set to high shutter speed, meaning auto restore delay is type A auto restore delay. This setting means that if you go below a certain shutter speed, you will see blackout. Now the highest settings for that is 1/200th of a second. So if you go below, if you're at 200th of a second or below, and if you have set it so, you will see that the viewfinder will restore back to type A. And type A tells you, like I said, the screen goes dark when a picture is taken. You want the type B to be active, right? So typically you'd come down and set type A auto restore delay to 1/6 of a second. Let me show you. 1/6 of a second. What it means is that now the camera will restore back to type A, in which setting there is a blackout only when your shutter speed is 1/6 of a second or below. All right, I was crazy. Every time I reset my camera, it seems to work fine. And by the time I'm done setting up the camera, and by the time I take a few shots, I spend some time shooting the camera. Suddenly again, I see that the blackout comes back, and I can't figure out what's happening. I thought my camera is broken. I kind of texted Nikon saying, "This is very irritating. Okay, you should figure something out. I don't know what's going on." And in my mind, I was expecting that there must have been some goof up, and this must have been a bug, and Nikon should push a firmware update. Long story short, I reset the camera again. Okay, and then it was all right. And then I set my camera. I set the I menu. I set my function buttons. All of it is completely set up. The rest of the menu setting was done properly. I mean, I set the photo shooting menu. I set the video recording menu. I set up my menu. All of those things were completely set up. And then when I start shooting again, the blackout thingy comes back. I was going nuts, and it was almost already the middle of the night. Okay, I was sleepy after the long day. Because I shoot in low light quite often, because I shoot in falling sunlight or in during evenings, I know that when I shoot, there's a lot of neon lights around me, a lot of artificial lights around me. So one thing that I do is typically I go inside the photo shooting menu, typically for all cameras, all brands. Okay, my Fuji, my Nikons, my Sony, I go inside wherever this indicator is. I go inside the menu and find out this. I find out where the setting for photo flicker reduction is. Okay, what I did was I found that the photo flicker reduction thing was switched on, like you see here. It was switched on, and I switched it off. All I did was I just switched it off, okay? Because I was going through everything in the menu, and I switched it off, and lo and behold, it's back. So, guys, what you have to remember is that the photo flicker reduction within photo shooting menu has to be switched off, because I think what the camera is essentially doing is that it is it's calculating the frequency of the light, right? And it's trying to shoot when there is no sort of lines, there is no there is no pulsing in the light, right? So there is no banding in the photo. So it's trying to figure out when all the lights are consistently switched on and you see no banding in your photo. So I think the computer inside the camera takes some time to sort of figure that out, and between each shots, it actually waits a little, and that's when you see the blackout. So the blackout is the result of a certain kind of calculation going on in the camera, and you have to switch off this flicker thing. You have to switch off photo flicker reduction. That's the solution. I went through a lot of conversations online. I searched for a lot of content online. I couldn't find any solution, so I had to figure this out myself. And I told Nikon that if you can't figure out what's going wrong by the time my video is up with a solution, you want to give me the 402.8 for a week. So far, Nikon did not give me a solution. This video is going to be up on the internet in within an hour or so. I guess Nikon India, if you're watching this, I won the 400 2.8 for about a week. No, 10 days. Okay, 2 weekends. Okay, 2 weekends is how long I needed. 400 2.8 for a couple of weeks. You can also give me the 600 f4. I'm fine with that as well. So that was a deal. And the funny thing is, I sent the message to Nikon. Okay, they didn't reply. They watched, they saw it, they didn't reply. But we figured it out. And it was fun going through, because what happened as a result of all this frustration and irritation is that I actually learned my camera quite rapidly. Okay, now I haven't, like I said, I haven't spent a very long time in the Z9. Like I didn't own the camera, so I didn't spend time daily with the camera. I didn't have a 1 year or 1.5 years of history with the Z9. So for me, the learning curve was kind of steep, and I went through so much. Now, because I set the camera up 3 times, okay, everything that happens for good. Because I set the camera up 3 times, I think right now the settings I have is so convenient for a very wide range of shooting scenarios. I love the way I have sort of set up the camera. I've taken ample help especially from Steve Perry's videos on how to set up a camera, but mine is exactly not like Steve Perry's. It's different. But I think it's very, very convenient. Steve, right now, I love using this camera, okay? Although it has less function buttons than, for example, Sony. Honestly, Sony's have more function buttons, more customizable buttons. This has only 3 function buttons. Sony already has like 5, 6. The A7 IV has, I think, 4 function buttons, but there are a lot more customizable buttons than a typical Nikon. I'm not saying it's bad in any way. I'm saying it's very customizable. There are so many already buttons here, but I'm just drawing comparison at a superficial level, and I'm saying I think I have this is one of the most well set camera for me right now, and I'm sure I'm going to progress more. I'm sure I'm going to make I'm going to start using shooting banks. I'm going to make my setups way smarter going forward. But right now, because of this experience, I went through this sort of very frustrating, irritating experience where I didn't have a someone just telling me here's the solution, or I didn't get an internet hack. I had to figure the whole thing out. I think I learned my camera a lot very quickly, and very well. So thanks a lot if you're still watching this video, and if it helped you, do subscribe and follow me for a lot more content on Z8 and a lot of more content on long lens photography, especially bird photography, because something I love doing this weekend. I did for the first time, and I really felt that as a street photographer, my skills of spotting a scene really helped me. I think street photography helps significantly in any genre of photography. And I felt that although I was doing, bird photography for the first time, I think my sharpening of the skill coming from street photography really helped me a lot. So more on that later. See you soon with another video very soon. Soon twice. Subscribe.